Hello, hello. Welcome, filmmakers, to the Intuitive Filmmaker Podcast, brought to you today by the Blackmagic Collective. Blackmagic Collective is a filmmaker group created for and by filmmakers with a focus on education, inspiration, and networking at all levels of the industry. Our current webinars not only work to achieve these goals, but also promote inclusion throughout the filmmaking process. We have a ton of events going on. Please go to blackmagiccollective.com and see what's coming up. Thank you to our sponsors, Blackmagic Design and Sigma, for always supporting us indie filmmakers and making things like this possible. I am your host for today. I'm your host always, I guess, Jen Page. I'm super excited. Today's our final film team talk of the year. And we have the one and only Dan Myrick, who you know best from Blair Witch Project, but he has a new creepy in another way project called Skyman. Skyman is the self-proclaimed alien experiencer Carl Merryweather on a path to filming his own alien abduction, or is he just another crackpot looking for fame and fortune? Carl himself may not be completely sure, but he is on a mission to find the answer. And that mission ends at the very spot in the desert where it all began almost 30 years ago. A chance meeting with an alien he calls Skyman. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Check, 1, 2, 3.
State your name for camera, please.
My name is Carl Merryweather, and this is my sister Gina Campbell. Her last name is Campbell because she was married, but then she got divorced.
Okay.
And her husband's name was Carl too.
Carl, that's enough. That's too much information.
Sorry.
So, Carl, can you tell us how you became interested in UFOs?
To state it as clearly as I can, I was visited by one when I was a kid.
The skies above Apple Valley were filled with more than just clouds last night. News 6 lines were lighting up with reports of an alleged triangle-shaped UFO in the
Some local residents claim to have seen an unidentified flying object just after sunset last evening, with one young man even claiming to have been visited by what he describes as a Skyman.
He was tall and skinny. He didn't look human. I knew he wasn't a human. He said that he was looking for someone like me.
He has been so razor sharp focused, more than I've ever seen him. I guess I just figured he was finally ready to tell his story.
Here's the HGH.
I'm telling you, it was really, really loud. I was standing right here, and it was like, are you too sure it was not you?
It couldn't have been. We were way over the hill by the beacon. What is it? It's our magnet, or what's left of it. It was propelled somehow.
Okay, so what? You really think that aliens did that?
I don't know what to think, Gina. All I know is something's going on, and I don't think it's human related. Arthur C. Clarke once said, "A sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And I've always liked magic.
And let's welcome one and only Daniel Myrick, writer-director of the film, and the two stars, Nicholette Sweeney and Michael Selle. Is it Selle, Michael, or
Selle.
is it Selle? Or is it Selle? Thank you. You guys, welcome. So glad you made it, Dan. I was worried for a minute that we were
my booking assistant double booked me. So I apologize.
But you're a busy man, and we appreciate your time here. Thank you guys all for joining us. This film is basically this film is pretty much like a lot of films that Dan has had his hands on, where you're wondering the whole time if it's real or not real. And even though I'm like, I know it can't be real, I know it's not real, I know it's a made up, I know he wrote it, and then I'm like, no, it can't. Like, you guys act so well in it that I'm just doubting myself the whole time. What does the prep look like for a film like this from a director and an actor standpoint? How do you guys bring this to life?
I mean, for me, it was kind of a weird kind of evolution for me, because I wasn't sure exactly how to approach the film itself in the early days when I was writing the script, whether it was going to be a found footage or a straight up narrative or some kind of hybrid in between. And I didn't want to bring too much comparison to to Blair Witch with regards to found footage. And I also wanted to have some creative, I guess, freedom that being the so-called documentarian in the film would allow me, because I'm basically telling Carl's story, but also through my own perspective as a filmmaker. So it allowed me some flexibility there. But as a director, I mean, one of the biggest things for me is casting, is making sure you've got, hyper talented people that not only have the chops to act in all these, like, what I feel is super high level kind of intellectual processes, I think, to the acting process, but also are just decent people, committed, that are easy to work with. And unfortunately, I didn't find any of that with these two below. But
you're in it, then you can't recast.
We made and it was all my directing props or chops that really kind of pulled it out of them.
Yeah, right. It didn't exist though at all. It was like nowhere in. And Dan was like, "Okay, I'm gonna make it exist in you, and then somehow pull it out." So really talented director.
I mean, Nicholette, you're absolutely magnetic on screen. I'm sure you've gotten the comparisons before to certain A-list Hollywood people like Emma Stone.
Yeah. Yes.
You have that thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's that actually, in some ways, for me, watching the movie drives it through your character. You are us watching the movie, like as we're watching. And then Michael, it's almost like I'm hoping that you're not like your character in real life. Like the whole time you're watching, you like, this guy's really bizarre.
Well, when I would talk to Dan about it, he would say, "You are Carl." But you are Carl. And I was like, well, what about this part right here? No, don't worry about it. You are Carl. And then I was like, I'm just going to take it as a compliment.
Carl is you and you are Carl.
Now, I think when you're casting and you're looking, like, I had a slightly different idea of the character profiles. What I wanted to avoid with Carl was casting someone that was like the straight up whack job, out in the desert, that's seeing aliens in his sleep and that sort of thing. I really wanted Carl to be a smart guy, a little bit of an outlier, sort of, got a little bit of Asperger's going on, I think, which Michael played really, really well. But someone you can sympathize with, that you just didn't think was a nutcase, that you start to really get into his process and really empathize with his goal and his need for redemption, his need to reconnect with his father, his need to find answers, and which we all kind of share, and of course with the Gina character, Nicholette just brought such a wonderful sense of like authenticity to the role that, there's always one character in the movie that's like you had mentioned, Jen, that it's the audience character, right? And she's like saying the things that we're all kind of thinking about her brother, and they just both played it in such a sublime way that it wasn't overdone. There was a real genuine chemistry there that they developed, and I was just so unbelievably fortunate to have these guys, in these roles.
How do you, as a director, pull off? I mean, this is the most natural you'll ever see actors being, and while also being engaging. Like, how do you get your actors to that point of just being completely conversational without trying?
A lot of it is, there's a lot of films, and these guys, I'm sure, will attest. I know I've been on these kinds of projects, but the film process doesn't, in a lot of ways, doesn't allow for that. It doesn't allow for you to really sort of just dive in to the roles. Like, early in the days that the three of us would go out to the desert and workshop some scenes just to kind of get to know each other better and talk about the characters and get in the vibe of the atmosphere, and I wanted them to get to know each other better, so they had that comfort level as brother and sister. And most films don't allow you to do that. They just don't give you that kind of time, that kind of freedom. And we had the luxury of being hyper low budget, where we could kind of go out and, also a testament to their commitment to the roles, that they said, yeah, let's hop in the car and go out and do some stuff. And so by the time we were shooting actual principal photography in the desert, we had already done scenes, and Mike and I had been to a couple of festivals. And so we had been working those characters and dialing them in all the way up to that point. So by the time we were in principal, they were already sort of in the zone. So that just takes time. And evolving the characters and my directing style. And I like to try to keep a comfortable set so everyone feels trusting in each other, and that we're all in good hands with each other, and just allow the actors to do what you hired them to do. I mean, you find really, really good people and let them do what they do, and try not to get in the way.
On that note, Lisa would like to know, where does Dan cast from? Do you use any of the casting sites to find your people?
Actually, I use Backstage West. We got like 3,200 inquiries through Backstage.
Oh
and a lot of online submissions, and then we held open calls in LA. I think we did like 4 or 5 open calls, and I think Nicholette, I liked you first, and I think you were off and about somewhere, and then Michael came in, and I really liked his look and his vibe, and then I had you read that kind of Carl's last will at the end, where he's saying goodbye to everybody, and you did that right to camera, and I knew that was you nailed it. And then I think I called Nicholette later, said, "Can you come in and read with this guy?" And
it was great.
You guys did your thing together. I said, this has got to be it,
I love it. I love it.
I knew something was up when they called Nicholette back, and they were like, "Can you wait for a little bit?" And I was like, "Okay." Yeah. I ended up being there for 3 hours.
Because so much is about, you might find your right lead, right? But then all the cast has to orbit around that lead, right? So you've got to believe that whoever you cast opposite the lead would be his sister, that has that same look and physicality and that, chemistry. And it's just something that you just have to go through a lot of people to find. And fortunately, these guys really had it.
I think you got, with Nicholette, you were very, most actresses would not put themselves on camera without makeup and just being like, here's who I am. And right. I think that added to the I won't say the rawness of your character, but it was that, but it added to us being sort of sucked into the reality that you're a real person.
Right.
Is that hard? Was that hard for you, or were you all about it?
I feel like that's my dream as an actor. Like, what I am most attracted to is the rawness. And I feel like Dan had mentioned, it's so hard to find that, especially if you're, doing theater in a small town. Maybe that's one thing, but if you're really making this a life for yourself, it's such a rarity. So for me, I felt like Gina also, I just really identified with her, and that is 100% my ideal. And even in the audition, I'll never forget, I ran in and I think they were all eating in and out. And it was like kind of a last minute thing. And I hadn't read the script, and I felt so excited. I loved Blair Witch. I loved Dan's work. And I kind of ran in, and oh my God, I probably looked a mess. And me and Dan just very quickly kind of got rid of the script. And to this day, that's the most incredible audition I've had, because it just really allowed me to see if, okay, is this someone that I truly identify with and can kind of tell her story. So I was all about it. That being said, when I came back, my family was like, what happened to you? Because in the desert, I think there was like an extra layer of dust that just.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask about these locations, because you had insane locations. Like, did you find like the storage containers and all that? Tell me you found that, or is that all set design?
No, that was all set design. I've got a dear childhood friend of mine. His name is Ray Warren, and his wife Monica live out in Apple Valley, and so way early on, I was out there, and I've been wanting to shoot something in the desert for a while, and wrote the script. I drove my RV out in the middle of the desert and wrote the script out at Joshua Tree National Park, and hung out with Ray a little bit, and he showed me some locations, and we found this one area, and it had an empty container on that spot. And I said, this would be a good place to shoot this movie I'm thinking about. And so, a year later, when we finally got the money raised, and Joe Restaino, who's the producer who helped raise the money and really did a great job for us, when time to come shoot, someone had stolen the container. So now it's just an empty piece of desert. Like, of course, it's been sitting there for probably 20 years. And by the time we want to shoot a stupid movie, someone steals it. So Sean Carroll, our production designer, and with Ray's help, we rented 2 new containers. And Sean basically, from the ground up, totally production designed the whole set out there and did a fantastic job for us.
It was Skyman. He didn't want you to film and tell the story.
I know. Someone beamed it up. I don't know. But it's like, but Ray said, hey, man, the thing's gone. I'm like, what?
I think it's another testament, though, to what you guys created, because I, honest to goodness, was like, I felt like somebody actually lived there and you guys found it. Like, your kudos to your production designer.
He was amazing. He totally got the script, totally got the movie. And, great production design's in the details, right? You see all the little details he put in that expresses a family history there. Of course, Carl's father. And so you see, when you look at the little details of that set, there's a history to every item sitting there. And Carl even points it out a little bit about the oven being 25 years old and Dad got it at a garage sale or whatever. So everything there has a history, the big wheel out front and all that kind of stuff. So, luckily for us, being out in the middle of Apple Valley, there's so many homes out there in the middle of nowhere. Their yard is just full of stuff. So Carl basically had a prop shop on every corner that he could just run and pick up stuff. And
wow.
So we were able to get a lot of really stuff pretty cheaply to kind of populate that set.
A lot of times filmmakers ask about how they, want to learn about prep and what you do for prep. Do you make mood boards to get your production designer on the same page?
Yeah, mood boards are real important for me. I think it's very helpful to kind of convey a visual aesthetic of the movie and sort of what you're thinking of in your head about the lighting and kind of the visual tone of the film. And and it's real easy now with the internet. You just go on and type in whatever, desert, whatever, and then you just grab all these great shots. And it really quickly conveys to even the actors and producers and everybody else sort of the look of the film and the kind of the feel that you're going after. So it's very helpful for me.
I would assume, Michael, when you're in those locations, it only helps with your performance.
Oh yeah. I remember walking into the container and seeing all the pictures, pictures of my family and it really, little Nicholette, it really helps to tell the story. You can visualize all the little things, all the little pieces, and it does really help to tell that whole backstory. And I would go in there and hang out in there because it was comfortable, and you really got that sense of how they lived out there, how they could live out there, how they might spend their time, and that really informed a lot of stuff for sure.
Great. Other things our audience always asks are the typicals. What camera did you use? What did you edit on? What did you color in? Can you give us some of that geeky tech stuff?
We shot on a Blackmagic Ursa 4.6K Mini, and with the set of Zine lenses for sort of one of our main cameras, and also on a Sony A7S II for a lot of the night stuff and kind of low light stuff. So, and then ultimately edited everything on Resolve, which was,
wow.
Knock on wood, was absolutely flawless. And I'm not saying this because I'm a big Blackmagic fan, but it was probably the easiest post process I've ever had. I've owned post houses in LA. And as far as just kind of like seamless from beginning to end. It was a really nice experience in the post, because there's always hiccups and there's always, round tripping nightmares and all that. Didn't have any of that with this. So it was really a nice, easy process for us on both acquisition and on post.
Yeah, and not that, like, again, not pushing a product, but I think I don't use Resolve. I'm actually a Final Cut user. I love Final Cut X. I'm trying to learn Resolve because of that, sort of like you edit, then you get the next tab, you're doing effects or whatever, you're doing your sound, you're doing your color. I can't, it's unbelievable. So it's interesting to hear that. So here's the thing about your film is so hard to read. I'll get all the nitty gritty. When I'm watching it, in my mind, you're holding the camera, you're asking the questions behind the camera. It's very much like a one-man show. Obviously, that's not the case, because now you're telling me there's more stuff. What did behind the scenes look like? You have a DP, who's asking those questions, like all that stuff.
Well, I mean, when I wrote the script, I knew I was going to be, quote unquote, a character in the film. I was going to be the actual documentarian, sort of Earl Morris-esque kind of questions off frame, asking, Mike and Nicholette and these characters, and as well. He was
such a diva. I'm sorry. He was such a diva on set too.
Where are my blue M&Ms? No. But yeah, so I really got to realize how easy it is to act. It wasn't that difficult. Say lines.
What's your problem, guys? Just say lines.
Why aren't they working?
Written down.
Why are millions not working? It's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, there were basically two phases to the movie. There was like the really down and dirty kind of pickup phase where we'd go out and shoot. It'd be like me and the actors go out and shoot, some tangential stuff, if you will, that ended up in the film. And Mike and I did a lot of scenes at the horror, or not horror fest, but the UFO festivals that ended up in the movie. So that was very intimate and just the two of us doing that sort of stuff. And then the primary kind of principal photography content, we had a crew of, what did you say, about 15, 20 people. Kevin Burke was DPing with me on it. And of course, Josh Knopf, how do you pronounce his last name? Knopf. Great guy, super guy. He was our first AD. And so everyone kind of filled multiple roles, but we probably had about 15, 20 people. We had a production design crew out there. And so that was more of a proper, setup and support for the principal photography portion out there in the desert. And at the diner, we had a few locations in Apple Valley that we needed crewed and set up, and locations and all that stuff. So, but it's still very small, comparatively speaking, to a lot of projects, because
it is. But also, like, it's way bigger than I would picture, and that's a compliment to your film, because your film is supposed to feel like this documentarian's following this guy around, and that's what it feels like. I never would have been like, oh, I see the lights. Oh, I never saw any of the magic. So you did a very good job of that. That's awesome.
I mean, it was the first film that I was actually putting like wind hits in, like Mike's the sound guy. So it's like I was putting wind hits in to kind of dirty up the sound at times. I've never done that before on the movie.
That's amazing.
So yeah, but yeah, it was that sense of authenticity, realism that we were trying to maintain, which is, again, so much of that is the performances, the actors' performances, finding people that are very natural and very comfortable and operate at a higher level. They're not the toughest thing. One of the toughest things with acting is pretending there's no crew around you, right? That's part of the job of the bandwidth an actor has to deal with, is like filtering out everything that's going on around them and being in the zone, and they did that wonderfully.
Yes. Sarab is asking, which will lead us into this, which I know you've mentioned, but he's saying, which desert did you shoot the movie in? Where is it? What state? If you'd mention that again. And then Nicholette, I'd love you to talk about what it's like filming in these locations, because it's not easy as an actor.
We shot in Apple Valley, California, which is just outside of Victorville. And we also shot in a little bit in Victorville too. So we had a couple locations, and then we went to the Integratron, which was, that's about an hour. What is it, about almost 2 hours?
Yeah. And the big rock is out there.
Southeast of Apple Valley as well. So, but mostly it was all Apple Valley.
And really quick question for filmmakers watching too, that how is Apple Valley towards filmmakers? Was it easy? Was it, you have to pay the permits that you have to pay for LA? Like, is it?
No, it was very easy. It was like, again, we had a lot of help with my buddy Ray, and he was a retired cop there, and he could kind of pull some strings. But I mean, we were out in the middle of the desert. We got permission to shoot on the property, which is privately owned, but nobody bothered us. We were
That's
like,
awesome.
we were so far out of the, realm of reality. No one cared what we were doing out there. I mean, there's people like, I don't know, cooking meth like 2 miles over. No one cares what we're doing.
We actually on our last night we went and like met up with them and they gave us some for free. So it was really
yeah. I mean, you talk about how she dealt with shooting in the desert. That was a large part of it.
Okay, great. No, but yeah, how was it like shooting in the desert? I hate it. And it's always funny to me because guys are always like, I want to shoot a movie in the desert. And I'm like, nah, no interest whatsoever.
Jen, me and you, girl connection, to have a Zoom wine night later about it because Mike was like, I'm going to sleep in the trailer. Dan slept in this trailer. I'm like, I will be at a hotel.
Yeah.
And even the first hotel, they kind of, because it's Apple Valley, Victorville. And the first hotel they kind of had booked. And they're like, yeah, we think it'll be better than the Holiday Inn or whatever. The Holiday Inn, it was wonderful. But, and then the producer called me. He's like, so I'm changing the hotel. I just spent one night there and I thought I was going to get murdered. So, but I mean, it was great. It was a very, I will say, we had so much fun on set because everyone was so in the nitty gritty. We were like out in the desert, everyone's staying in different places, and we were so in it. So the set was every night during the day. It was people, no one other than Dan. Dan was the biggest diva. Oh my God. I mean, he loves trail mix and he's like, where's my trail mix? Just consistently. And he goes through it very quickly. It was overwhelming for all of us. Trail mix isn't the easiest thing to get when you're in the middle of it, but
that actually brings us to Corey's question, which is because you're really good at this improv stuff. Corey asked, how much was scripted versus how much was improvised?
I mean, it was pretty well scripted. I mean, we had a full-on script, but But
then you cast Nicholette and it all went out the window.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't need this. Papers everywhere. But yeah, it was. I mean, I think our standard approach to it was like, know your lines, memorize your lines, and then sort of kind of forget them and just kind of get into the moment. And I didn't want it coming across too writerly, right? That's especially in a documentary style film, you want it to feel very improvised and spontaneous. So I knew I was going to be shooting multiple takes from several different angles as we were doing it. So the actors had a lot of freedom to just kind of blurt stuff out. And as long as they knew the point of the scene and, certain things needed to be said, obviously, I wasn't too fixated on getting every word down. And, but it was pretty well scripted overall, but I encourage that improvisation whenever, inspiration hit the actors.
Yeah.
Michael, is that something you normally do? You come from improv at all, or was it all new to you?
I hadn't done a lot of improv before the movie. I've done a lot since then. Nicholette and I are in an improv group together in LA, actually. I wish I would have been more into it, but I think it went really well. One of the things, that was great about working with Dan is he really made us comfortable, and we got to be such good friends, the three of us, that, after a while it was pretty easy to just sort of let go and let things happen. And Nicholette is amazing. And, but I really think, the script, it was all there, what Dan is saying about the script, because there was kind of a long time between getting cast and shooting the movie. So there was enough time to learn the script, forget the script, relearn the script. It actually was beneficial.
It was.
So there's a scene that you guys have when you go to the UFO fair where the two guys are interviewing you. Was that written into the script, or was that one of those like on the fly moments?
No, that was written in.
I'm mind boggling. Every time you tell me something's written in, I'm like, no, it wasn't.
No,
You lie.
Part of what I wanted throughout the film was to sort of interject like real ufologists, real UFO kind of folklore, references to real books and authors, and Pacific North Weird is a real vlog group, and Vince, who runs it, I contacted him and said, hey man, I know you guys, and we met a lot of people the first time we went to the UFO Fest, but I said, look, if you're going to be around, would you like to interview my character Carl, because we're shooting some scenes there, and would you guys be into stuff? Totally, man. And so he came prepared to ask some questions, and we set it up as if Carl just kind of bumped into these guys in the street, and but it was a perfect scene because Michael just played it totally deadpan perfectly, and the whole point of those moments is to kind of show the juxtaposition of Carl's kind of seriousness about his mission and all the kind of kitschy UFO craziness that these festivals often kind of bring to bear. And so the irony at the end of the scene is they're calling Carl weird, and their show is called Pacific North Weird, So, but they did a great job for us, and it was a lot of fun to have them involved.
Great. Sarah would like to know, how many days did it take to make this film? How many days were you in the desert, Nicholette?
Great question. I remember them clearly.
I mean, we shot for what, 2 weeks, was it? Or a week and a half or something like that. We prepped for a couple of weeks. We shot for 2 weeks. And then if you count like the pickup shots and all the preliminary stuff at the festivals, probably all in about a month of actual shooting and a couple of weeks prep. And then of course the post-production always takes a long time for me. It's like 6 months, but so from, and then we, in the very early days, we had an Indiegogo campaign to raise our development funds. So probably from start to finish, 2 years, when we officially like made it a go picture to final delivery.
I think that's pretty normal too. I think a lot of times filmmakers get into this and they don't realize how long it will take. Like, oh, it's just a month of my time. No, it's like years of your time. Because even once you finish the movie, then you're doing the interviews, you're doing the distribution, it's following through.
Yeah.
You gotta love whatever you do.
That's a perfect point. You better be in love with this relationship. Otherwise, it's a miserable relationship if you're not loving it, because it does demand a lot of your time and your thought. Even when you're not at the computer editing, you're thinking about it. And it's all encompassing.
Yeah, one of the things I always push on new filmmakers who are asking, like, should I make this short? Should I make this feature? Should I make a web series? It's like, it doesn't even matter. Just don't chase the audience. Like, just do what's in your heart, and you're gonna love it. You're gonna enjoy it. Get one more question from the audience here. We have Mia Sweeney would like to know which was the best scene to shoot for you guys. Go for it, Michael.
Well, hi, Mia. The funnest scene, the most fun. Oh boy, I think probably the owls maybe was really fun, and the tarantula scene was pretty fun.
All the least fun scenes for Gina.
And I love the new cut, Dan. And one of my favorite scenes is that shot of Gina and Marcus on the couch at the end. Just really hit me the last time I watched it. There's a lot of good scenes in there, and it was a lot of fun.
It was so fun. Oh my God. Everything was so fun. I think also the biggest thing too is we got, like, me and Mike spent so much time together in LA. When Dan would ever come out, we spent so much time together in the desert before, spending time. And Dan's friend that he has out there, I mean, him and his wife, we just stay at their house. They are the most incredible, most open people, and so in it as well. And I still keep in contact with them and whatnot. So I think that it all became a really fun experience. And it's kind of like, reminds me of when you go on a weird trip with someone and you guys are, you go through all the waves of kind of like if you're backpacking or something like that of emotion. But I thought the most incredible one was the fire scene. It was a great scene.
Yeah.
It was a great.
What made it incredible for you? Just the experience of it?
Yes, the experience. Just that we really me and Mike really got to connect there, and we really got to. It was such a pivotal moment in the film, kind of as I came around and like, I love you and I believe you and I'm proud of you, instead of kind of just being on the backdrop and thinking that something's wrong with you like everybody else. So I think it was kind of an odd understanding between us, and it was really, really fun to film. That was my favorite.
I love it. We're at the part of the show where we have a deck of cards. Each card has a word on it. We are going to just see where the conversation takes us. But Dan, you're going to tell me when to stop, and we're going to random word and just.
Okay. All right.
Whenever you feel it.
Stop.
Okay. You got the word hardship. Anybody get anything come to anybody for the word hardship? What that means to you? It doesn't have to be about this film. It could just be about your career or life or being in quarantine.
I was going to say pandemic.
I mean, there is that, yeah. I think, related to the film, the hardest thing is always raising money, and you never have enough cash, and you wish you could pay everybody a lot of money and we could just, own the world and have more days and more time. And it's always pushing a boulder up a hill, to get these little small movies made. But that's why they're so rewarding when you do, and you're able to kind of get it up on the screen, and you realize how all those hardships do pay off. So yeah, outside of that and being quarantined with a wife and 2 kids and an aging mom.
You haven't killed
I'm good.
Yet, so you're good.
I thought Dan was going to talk about how he couldn't have his private personal masseuse out in the desert with him.
Oh my God, that was the biggest.
You guys pitched a fit when we couldn't have that stretched limo out in the desert to take you back to your hotels and stuff. And that went on for 20 minutes.
Dan used to rub sand on my face because he thought that added to the character and really being swept up.
Here's your makeup.
And meanwhile, he had a personal makeup artist. I mean, and to do what? I mean, you
can't really improve. Why? You're right. Why bother?
It's really fun to watch you guys because you can tell that you really bonded during this film, because we don't normally have this sort of chemistry between cast and director, and it's fun to watch. It's great.
Well, look, I mean, in all seriousness, they're great people. I like working with great people that are super talented. And look, this kind of movie demands that. It's not a 9-to-5 gig. It's not a action cut kind of movie. You have to have people that when you step through into the looking glass, you're all in. And you're not sure exactly what the next scene's going to be and how it's going to roll out, and you can't get too bent out of shape if it doesn't happen exactly how you have it in your mind. So because
it never does.
It never does, and you need people that are flexible. You need a crew that's flexible, and anyone who's sort of a fly in the ointment, you gotta let them go. That's my motto.
Yeah.
Right. We tried to do it for Dan. We were just like, he's such a fly, but it's kind of hard when he created it.
Huge fly.
There you go.
So for you actors, what are some things you could, because you guys said you're doing an improv class online, which is great. So for actors who are feeling it's really hard right now, that there's no creative outlet, can you give them some insight on what you're doing to stay sane and creative?
Nicholette and I have actually been writing music together.
Oh, really?
Over the internet, yeah. She comes up with a song and she'll sing it and send it to me, and I'll put it in GarageBand and play guitar over it and sometimes sing too. And then we'll go back and forth. And how many songs do we have so far?
We have a lot. It's a wonderful process too, because right before quarantine, me and Mike had a show. We went up, and then a guy at the show kind of ran up after us and said, "Hey, we loved you guys. Do you guys want to book a 30-minute show?" And we were like, "Yes." And it's like, I think we planned for 2 weeks. We're like, "Okay, we got to drill these songs in." And then the pandemic got the way that it got right around then. So it's been an amazing process too, to just be able to kind of exchange that with Mike. And yeah, I was in an improv group and thought of Mike and brought him in, and we used to perform, and now we practice, and we're going to do virtual performances soon. So.
And it's weird. They haven't asked me to sing in any of their songs.
No, Dan actually really,
I don't know. Did it go to my email filter or something? I don't know.
Check your spam. Check your spam.
Check your spam.
Definitely check your spam.
You know what? I'm so blown away by that, because you guys didn't even know each other, right? Before the film. Now you feel now it seems like you're like besties.
We are. I go to Mike's house all the time. Even when Dan's in LA, we just don't tell him. He's like, "Hey, you guys want to meet up?" We're like, well, this is awkward. But hang out with Mike's family. Mike's met all my family in Austin, and so yeah, Mike and I have he really does feel like a brother, and that's really been accepted also by everyone in our lives. And I feel like I need to include him. He just should be a part of a lot of the processes.
Oh, I love it. Dan, what are you doing as a filmmaker to not lose your mind? I mean, Skyman's out now, so you're not working on that.
We were in the middle of doing a horror anthology in Florida, which we shot the first episode. I was editing, and we have 3 more scheduled to go, but the pandemic hit, so we're sort of on hold for that. We are working with a platform called Sue, TSU, that's launching next month, I think. And I thought it would be cool to hold an online quarantine creep show contest where people, like unknown filmmakers that are stuck at home or stuck in their yard or whatever, could do like a 3-minute horror clip, comedy or whatever. And we would basically do a contest, judged by me and my buddy Jeffrey Reddick, who did Final Destination, and Danny McBride, who did Underworld. We would be the judges and have an online quarantine creep show, which would be fun. So we're working on that now. Hasn't been announced yet, but that's probably going to get announced in a couple of weeks. And so, yeah, and outside of that, riding my bike a lot. So, trying to stay in shape.
Yeah.
He's not a great bike rider either.
That's a pretty fancy bike you got.
Yeah,
pretty awesome, man. It's the bug out.
You tried to bike, a few times during the whole. It's just not one of your strong suits, is it?
No, it is. I'm going to be a mountain biker. But probably, if I don't bust my rump, I'm going to try to do the Cross Washington Trail. We'll see. But
whoa.
That's exhausting just hearing that.
I know.
Got me out of that one.
It's good therapy, though.
Not going to happen. Dan, should we prep a date, and maybe you can film your just your process and kind of your growth during that? Why don't you spend your time doing that, like a little self-documented?
It's so
I can fly the drone for you.
Complicated.
Yeah, that drone right above you, Dan.
Drone.
Called Drone Man, Bike Man.
More drone shots.
For those of you on Facebook and Twitter, we have a few minutes left. If you still want to get those burning questions in, it could be about this film or filmmaking or acting in general. You've got these wonderful people here with all this great knowledge. In the meantime, we're going to do one more card. Let's see where that goes. Nicholette, why don't you tell me when to stop?
Okay. Stop.
Self-love.
Oh, that's a good
Keep
one.
it clean.
You got some time? Let's just kick back.
Seriously. Okay, so I was going to do therapy in an hour, but it sounds like I could just switch over to right now.
I do think that a lot of times we, especially when we're in the middle of the filmmaking process, like I was getting exhausted and like I couldn't think straight because I had so much stuff coming at, and you're making decisions and you're scheduling this, you're doing that, especially on these low budget ones where there's just too much. And we don't take that time to go, okay, my body needs a nap, or, my body needs to eat. Are there things that you've learned through this process that, you always want to do when you're on set, or, even in quarantine, you're like, I have to make sure I do this to stay healthy?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I will say, I think self-love too. I teach yoga on the side, which really helps a lot of that. And I don't teach like the weights yoga. I teach the more meditation and stretch classes. Dan, I'm sorry I haven't been able to send you that link you've been talking about. Just it's gotten really hazy for me. But one day I'll let you into one of my classes. And
say stretch yoga.
Yes, so you stretch your body basically.
Because I've seen every other kind of yoga, but actual yoga lately.
Yeah, exactly. All the other kinds. But I think yes, I think that's really hard. I also think it's hard because self-love is so different for every person. Taking care of yourself it just depends on the person. But I found that on Skyman, we were so in it to the point where I actually, even though it felt good to go home and rest for a very, while, I really missed it. And I really wished I could have gone home for 2 weeks and then could have gone back. So I think that really works for me. And a lot of filmmakers and actors of powering through and being so in it and then being able to rest. But yeah, it feels like,
and like not needing to go, like, what's the next thing? It's like, give yourself a second.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the nature of the film too, I didn't feel, sometimes you're on these huge projects and you don't even know, you don't have time to, stick a piece of food in your mouth. It's so crazy. But I felt like on this production, I felt like we just watched out for each other so much, and we really bonded. So it didn't feel like that.
That's great.
It really
that's a good point. I mean, I think one of the things I've learned over the years on any film, regardless of budget, is, I don't know why I'm getting all these notifications. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Very unprofessional.
I don't know how to turn them off in
changing my location. Professional.
In Firefox, so they'll be done here.
These guys, huh?
We're getting a live lesson in a tracking shot.
Yes.
But yes, giving yourself a realistic schedule where people aren't getting worked 18, 19-hour days pays off in huge dividends down the road. If you can give yourself an extra couple of days to make the shoot days more reasonable, everyone's in a better state of mind. Your crew's healthier, both mentally and physically. And you just get a better end result on the screen. You really, really do. And so I try to, even on low budget stuff where your instinct, you're young and you're healthy and you think you can conquer the world. Right. You really want to try to treat the crew well, treat the actors well, and have reasonable days. So you spend most of your brain energy on creative thinking rather than just exhaustion. Because it's tiring enough, but if you can kind of keep a realistic schedule, that's definitely one of the best overall self-love things I can convey to filmmakers is to have that healthy set.
I love that. That's great. Anything come up for you, Michael?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Nicholette was saying about how everyone looked out for each other, and it was really an amazing experience. Everyone connected right away, and I mean, Sean, who built the set, he was really supportive of everybody, of all the different aspects of it. Not just that, everyone was working with everybody, and Dan and the producers took really good care of us. We had really good food, and yeah, I mean, when you really love it and you're getting taken care of like that, it's easy to want to come back. It's after we were done for the day, have dinner, and I'd be ready to go again. But it was like, no, just go chill out, go lay down,
No, it's smart.
Mike, what? Mike was always.
I noticed, Nicholette, you have a lighting change. Do you have like a DP just off frame or something?
Yes. Oh, did I not mention that? A big thing I've been doing to stay sane is interpretive dance videos online.
Awesome.
You can find them. Just really what I feel whenever I wake up, inspired by a cup of coffee in my brain. So I just constantly have a DP. It's called a computer charger, Dan. Excuse me. Not all of us have a desktop the size of, a wall. Typical. He's like, dude, have you seen my big desktop all day on set? It's like, yeah, Dan, calm down.
I got a curved screen.
Oh my God. I got a curved screen.
I wish we could see it.
I edit better.
So before we go, you guys have any final words, maybe for actors out there, or for Dan, in your case, for filmmakers out there, just a life lesson or just something you want to leave everybody with? That'd be great. Michael, we'll start with you if you got something.
A life lesson, huh? Well, my life lesson is to keep moving, keep going forward. Things are weird right now, and I think it's important for creative people to be creative, and for just keep working. I got my first feature film when I was 40, so it's the way it goes.
Stick with it. Yeah. Nicholette?
Yes, I think we're in a time where this is the biggest lesson of all. So much of life now is putting creativity in different boxes, and we don't have that excuse right now. And we can't complain that we're not getting work, because there is none. So I think take classes. There are so many free workshops online, free casting director workshops. You can work one-on-one, incredible classes, do improv, write, sing, paint, really explore all of your creative dimensions. And this is a special time. And I think we'll always look back to it and think, in a lot of moments when we are working, I wish I had that again. So take advantage. We'll come back. We need it. Dan?
Yeah, I don't think you can keep creative people down. They find a way. And my experience is like, just when you think you know all the rules, someone else comes around and breaks them. And I'm always encouraged and inspired by, creative people, especially, young up and coming filmmakers that find new ways to get creative with all these new mediums. Right. And so that's always very encouraging. And, for me, I can do a lot of writing while we're sort of got this downtime, and finding ways to do online kind of screen contests and stuff like that's fun. I otherwise wouldn't have probably have done that. So you'll find other ways to find creative outlets, and between that and working out for mountain bike nationals coming up in September, that's what else can you do?
I love this comment from Kevin.
Is there a nationals? I don't even know. Is there such a thing?
Kevin wanted to say, great advice, guys. This is a special time.
Thank you.
Hey, not the bike part, Dan. Not the bike part.
Got it.
The rest of it.
The next time I have a neck brace. I'm like,
Dan, where are we sending people to watch Skyman?
It's all out on all the major streaming platforms, Amazon and whatnot. It's probably the best place, and Vimeo and those guys. But you can go to the
filmmakers,
website.
I want to encourage you guys to buy it. Don't rent it. We have to support each other. And I always buy my indie filmmaker friends' movies.
It is
no
that
matter if they're terrible or not. I buy them and I watch them.
Yeah.
This one is not. This is a really fun one.
But yeah, there's you can get it all the usual suspects. So and also leave a good rating if you like it. Leave a good rating. It also helps
That's true. I gotta go do that. We're off.
Cool.
Thank you guys for spending your morning with us.
Thanks,
this was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you guys. And for everybody who's still watching, again, please visit blackmagiccollective.com and learn about all the events that we have coming on. We have next week we have John Brawley. He's a cinematographer. He's fresh off the grate. It's our art tech series. It just started. And then we have coming up the all access panel. It's all inclusive casting and more stuff. That's my brain can't even think of all the things that we have going on all the time. And I guess other than that, thank you again to Blackmagic Design and Sigma for sponsoring us as you do. And all of you filmmakers, keep being creative, keep doing your thing, and we'll see you next time.